Hello and welcome to the Strong, Healthy, Happy podcast. I'm here again. My name is Debra. I don't know why I'm saying I'm here again. It's my podcast, so of course I'm going to be here again, and it's an absolute pleasure to be here again. And thank you so much for listening. And if you're new to the podcast, welcome. And if you are a regular listener, thank you so much for supporting my podcast. And I really do hope that you're learning lots and gaining lots of helpful information to help you on your journey to improved health and whatever your specific and individual goals are. Please know that you can reach out and message me via my social media at any time. I welcome feedback. I welcome questions. No question is ever too small or too silly. So please do feel free to ask. And if you are enjoying my podcast, please do share me with your friends. Share the link to my podcast or a particular episode into your friendship chat, WhatsApp chat groups, on your social media, to your stories, or however you communicate with your friends. I really do genuinely want to reach and help as many women as possible. And I can do that via my podcast. It is free advice. And I really do want to help as many women as possible. So many women come from a very extensive dieting background, leading to very poor relationship with food, body image, relationship with themselves and how they think and feel about themselves. And if my podcast can help in some small way at helping women find a way of improving their health from a place of self-care, self-kindness, compassion, and a positive place, that is what I really, really want to genuinely help women find and believe, and leave those past dieting rules and beliefs behind that haven't been serving them well. Now, this is going to be a Q&A, and I've not really done a Q&A. So I've done just my own solo podcasts. I've done podcasts where I've done group check-ins. I've done podcasts where I may have had a guest on. But I haven't really done a Q&A. And the reason why I'm doing this Q&A is a result of the start of my group coaching. This is a new round of my group coaching. This is day 2 of it. And we've had a bit of a lead up into the group coaching. So my ladies had what I call some free days just to get set up and started, so that on the first day of coaching, we weren't all faffing about with getting set up. We've had plenty time. The ladies have had plenty time to get set up. I've been on hand to support and help as best as I can and get everybody to fill in what's called a getting to know you form, so I understand more about how their life looks, whether they have children, whether they work full-time, part-time, shift work, or not at all, and just get a better understanding so that the way that I set up their coaching fits into their lifestyle. And this is really important in maintaining long-term success, is it has to be realistic, and I want to be able to do that as much as possible. Now, in group coaching, it's not individual coaching. It is with generic programs. They are still great programs, even if they're generic. Some of the ladies have had specific requirements due to injury, and I've been obviously accommodate that and given them some exercises to support and stabilize the muscles and the joints surrounding the joint and the muscles surrounding their particular injury. So there is a lot to be gained from the group coaching. But what this group coaching has invoked is this Q&A episode, because it really reminds me, I love working with all women, no matter goals, age, anything, experience, lack of experience. I just love it. And I love communicating with women. And this particular intake has really reminded me of common myths and misconceptions that probably so many of you may still believe or be confused about. And there is like hundreds, don't get me wrong. We haven't exposed hundreds in day 2 of coaching, but there has been a few crop up. And I thought it would be really helpful just to talk about them on this podcast, because maybe they're things that you also think and no one has actually told you otherwise, or presented the facts so that you can then make your own assumption and decision as to your beliefs around a certain myth. So question number one, let's crack on. Question number one, do I have to track calories to lose weight? No, you do not have to track calories to lose weight. There are many ways in losing weight. You don't have to track calories. Tracking calories is a fantastic tool to understanding nutritional values, macronutrients, i.e., carbs, proteins, and fats, and helping you manage your calorie intake. It's a fantastic tool. It is not a lifetime solution, but it is a very good educational tool. However, it is not suitable for everybody. And when I ask the questions in the Getting to Know You form about preferences with managing nutrition, there is a box that says, I prefer not to track. Can I have an alternative method? And this is what I then give ladies who don't want to track food. There are other ways of managing the amount of food that you're eating. And if you have a weight loss goal, which pretty much everybody has. I am a weight loss coach, a fat loss coach, and most women have that as a goal. Not exclusively. Health and strength, well-being, and feeling good feature very, very high up along there with a weight loss goal. But you do not have to track calories to lose weight. We do need to put you, or I need to coach you into being in what's known as a calorie deficit. And a calorie deficit is basically reducing the amount of food that you're eating so that you eat less than your body is expending. So if you think of an old-fashioned weighing scales, on one side of the scales is the amount of calories you eat, and on the other side of the scales is the amount of calories you expend in a day. You want what you eat to be a little bit less than the amount of calories you expend. Doesn't have to be a big deficit. You can live your life and lose weight. And so having a smaller deficit is going to be more conducive to that. Nothing I do in coaching I like to do with extreme measures. I don't want anything we do to be drastic, to be over restrictive, because ultimately they don't work and they end up with I don't ever do it in coaching, but clients that I speak to that had other methods of coaching before or have tried other diets, they can't stick to it because it's not realistic. It's not something they can see themselves doing for the rest of their life. And over restrictive measures often are miserable and very hard to stick to, maybe short term, but not over the long term. But I'm digressing from the question, and that is, do I need to track calories? No, you do not. I have other methods. It might be using food photos. It may be keeping a handwritten diary. Could be various other ways. Also in the chat group, we have a group coaching chat group. I sometimes ask ladies to upload photos in that group, and then I will feed back on each picture that they share with me on how to further improve the quality of the nutrition in their meal and to reduce calories, but without reducing volume, because I want my clients to be eating as much as possible, not as little as possible. But the goal is as much as possible, but making it less calories. And when you have a high protein and high fiber diet, it will keep you fuller for longer, keep you much more satiated, great nutrition as well. But in answer to the question, you do not have to track calories. Somebody asked, what happens if I go over my calorie target? Now, so many people think that they have to hit their calorie target on the nose. And perhaps you've done a diet in the past where you've counted calories and you're aiming for this number and you need to hit it on the nose. Now, what I do with my clients is I give them a calorie range target. And a calorie range is a lower end and a higher end with their actual calorie target somewhere in the middle. And the reason why I do this is because you are a human being. Some days you may feel less hungry. Some days you may feel more hungry. Some days may just be a regular work day. You've got a nice little routine going. Your food might be at the lower end of your calorie range. And sometimes on a weekend, you may have more social events and want to have a bit more calories to play with so that you can enjoy your social, relax, and not have to be worried so much about the amount of calories that you're consuming. And so by having a calorie range, it gives you a range of calories to work within without thinking you've ruined anything. So if you go into the higher end of your calorie range, you're still going to be in a calorie deficit. It will be a smaller deficit, but you're still in a calorie deficit. And therefore, you're not going to think you've ruined or failed your diet because you've eaten more calories, because you are still in a calorie deficit. And what tends to happen with people who work and focus on hitting a specific number is if you go over that calorie target, you think you failed, you think you've ruined your progress, you broke your diet. And so what tends to happen is you think, fuck it, I've ruined everything. I may as well now XYZ, whatever that, fill that in yourselves. Dive into the biscuit tin, have another drink or 5. It could be whatever it is for you. But when you perceive you failed, you tend to then give up completely and completely ruin things. And by having a calorie range, it reduces the likelihood of that happening. I also want to remind you that it's about averages. It's not just about the amount of calories you eat in a day. When it gets to midnight, your body doesn't miraculously reset and it all goes back to 0 and you start again. Sorry, I just need to take a drink. Your body doesn't reset at midnight and it's like, oh, we're at 0, everything's reset. You are an average of what you do over time. The amount of body fat you hold today, currently, has been stored there over time for the whole of your life. You may have gained weight more recently, but it's an accumulation from years. It's not just, you don't magically wake up one day and have loads of body fat. It's an accumulation. And in the same way, when it comes to losing weight, you lose weight as an average of what you do over time. I like to work on an average of a week just because it's easier to manage. So if one day you went over a little bit, one day you can just return to normal, or maybe you just don't feel so hungry and you go under a little bit, as long as you're within a calorie range. I tend to go, about 10% above and 10% below of an actual number. And, we trial it, we stay consistent with it. If my clients don't have movement, then I'll make adjustments. But to chop and change calories without giving it time is not a very smart thing to do, because adherence and consistency is one of the biggest factors when it comes to losing weight. You could stick to super low calories, let's just say for 2 days, and then it gets the better of you and the feelings of hunger hit you hard, and then you end up eating way more than if you'd have just had more sensible calories to begin with. So I give clients time to get consistent with a reasonable calorie range target that puts them in a deficit and that also allows them to live their life as they're progressing towards their goals. Someone in the group chat used a reference about feeling guilty after eating certain foods, and we talked about this I talked about this in the group chat a little bit, and this is really common as well, and I don't want anyone or my particular clients to feel like, oh my God, I shouldn't have said it. Absolutely, we want to be open and honest with each other, but lots of you probably listening may experience feelings of guilt after eating certain foods. Now, this is something I work on with coaching because I wouldn't want anyone to feel guilty from eating certain foods. At the end of the day, food is food. Food is food. Some is more healthy, some may be less healthy, some is more nutritious and serves our body well with nutrients, and some may be less nutritious, and that's okay. The more nutritious foods benefits us physiologically and physically, and the less nutritious food can sometimes benefit us psychologically. And if we're happy psychologically, we tend to stick to our diets better. So it's about including all foods. No food is off limits. I never tell any of my clients that they can't have something, that they should stay away from something. I actually encourage them to have an all-inclusive diet, whether that be a glass of wine with their partner on a Friday night or with the girls, or to include chocolate in their diet, or whatever the food is that they particularly like. To be able to eat that certain food in moderation and without guilt needs to be included on a regular basis in a structured way, which is what I help with in coaching. Now, the reasons that feelings of guilt often come about is from having a dieting history. Maybe things you've been told in the past: don't have this, it's bad, it's fattening, it's dirty, there are sins, there are too many points. And so you perceive that you've done something wrong if you have these types of food. It's almost like you're naughty. And if you feel naughty, then you feel bad. And this will lead to feelings of guilt. Now, if you eat something that perhaps wasn't in line with your goal, like, nothing bad will happen. It may slow down your fat loss, it may slow down your weight loss, but that's okay. It's not the end of the world. It's okay. This is a lifetime solution. We're not looking for a quick fix, and you've got to get it all 10 out of 10 over the 6 weeks, or in any of my coaching, my one-to-one clients, no matter how long they've been coaching. We're looking for lifetime changes, and reducing feelings of guilt around food is a really, really important one. And how you perceive and think and feel about certain foods is really important, because if you look at it as good food, bad food, healthy food, unhealthy food, fattening, clean, sins, etc. I mean, even the word sins, I hate saying it. Food is not a sin. Food has no feelings. Food is autonomous. It is not a sin to eat whatever Slimming World perceive or tell you is a sin. It's just food. It's just food. It's just food. And how you use your language, the language you use to describe certain foods, is really important. If you find that you're using those words that I mentioned, I don't even want to say them again, call yourself out. It's just food. Some may be less nutritious, but lose the terminology. Remember, food does not have feelings. All food can be included. And when you do include all food, and you give yourself permission to eat these types of foods, it will reduce your overeating, it will reduce your cravings, which often lead to the overeating, and it will benefit you physically and psychologically. If you do try and cut foods out, it most likely leads to you having an all or nothing mentality, because if you cut something out, you can stick to that maybe for a period of time until your cravings get the better of you, and then you can't, and then you go, all gloves are off, you go full in with it, you overeat or drink on it, whatever it is, and then you say, I'm never going to buy that again, and then you don't buy it until the next time you do, and this cycle keeps going around. So all food is inclusive. And what I do through my coaching is I give my clients the understanding behind their food choices, how to build nutritious meals that keep them really full and satiated and make them feel good, because different foods make you feel differently. And when you start to feel good, you're going to choose more of those foods that make you feel good, and have much more recognition of those foods that leave you with a very low mood, not feeling great about yourself, low energy. And so you begin to take the power and make those choices that support your goal. Another question is, do I need to do cardio for weight loss? So cardio being continuous exercise, running, cross trainer, biking, classes, HIIT sessions, those types of things. My answer to that is you do not need to do cardio to lose weight. If you think of prisoner of war camps, they were not doing cardio, but they lost a lot of weight, a lot of body fat, because they were not eating very much food, but they didn't do running and cardio. You do not need to do cardio. Now, cardio is very good for your heart health and your metabolic health, and helps you to feel fitter, but you can include it if you enjoy it, but you do not have to do it. I know a lot of women are caught in this cycle, and men, but I coach women, so I'm just aiming this at women. They're caught in this cycle of doing classes, HIIT sessions, runs, over and over again each week. And what it can do is potentially it increases your hunger. You then feel more hungry, then you get uncontrollable urges to eat, then you eat more, eat what you perceive as too much, then you go and do the class to then pay back and burn it off, and then you eat, overeat again, and you're in this cycle, this never-ending cycle, which is very, very unhealthy mentally, emotionally, and physically. And if you reduce the actual cardio that you're doing, increase your steps from walking, and introduce resistance training, which will benefit you in terms of your longevity of life, your quality of life, and I want to emphasize quality of life, your long-term health makes you feel so great, your strength will improve. And if your goal is to tone up, I hate to break it to you, but you have to build muscle tissue, and you won't do that doing cardio. You will build muscle tissue if you eat a diet that supports building muscle tissue and you do resistance training regularly. And for some reason, ladies feel very scared to do resistance training or to set foot in a gym. And I understand that. I totally understand it. It's a new environment, maybe one that you don't feel so familiar in, and I get it. But I give clients support in getting into the gym, and you can also do resistance workouts from home. You don't even need any equipment to get started. So thinking about the type of exercise that you do. Now, I'm not saying that cardio doesn't expend calories. It does. But it's being able to manage your energy balance, i.e. calories in versus calories out. And if cardio is increasing your hunger, driving you to eat more, eating back the calories that you expend from exercise, moving less outside of that exercise session, which studies have reported, then it's not really serving you in terms of your goal. If you're wanting to run a marathon, then you need to be running. But if your goal is weight loss, you don't need to be doing masses of cardio week in, week out. Yes, you can include a session a week, it's not a problem, but you need to mix it in with your resistance training. But you do not need to do cardio to lose weight. Okay, I asked a question in the group chat this morning, day 2. It includes a bit of the communication in the setup, plus the first day yesterday. And we had a welcome Zoom in the evening where I answered some questions that the ladies had. And I asked them today, from just one day of coaching and a bit of a setup period, what's the one thing that you've learned so far in coaching, whether it was a myth bust, something you understand more, or whatever it is? What have you learned in just one day? So one of my ladies replied, interesting to hear about weighing yourself, because this, just to give context, this particular client was weighing herself every once a week in an afternoon. And I explained that weighing yourself once a week in an afternoon was not a very accurate way to measure your body weight, because there are so many factors that fluctuate your scale weight that weighing once a week is a bit like, what if you'd have weighed less the day before, but you won't know that because you didn't weigh then. Weighing outside of doing it first thing in the morning, when you've gone about your day, you've already eaten food, it's not going to be an accurate indication. And also scale weight in the short term doesn't necessarily measure body fat loss. Your scale weight consists of water, bones, fat, muscle, organs. It doesn't necessarily measure a reduction in body fat. The scales will eventually reflect body fat when the scales trend down over time, and also by using photos, where I look at those photos and see the visual changes, because that usually represents a loss in body fat. Now, when I spoke to this lovely lady about this weekly weigh-in and shared with her what I've just shared with you, she now has said, sorry, I'm just trying to find it. Yeah, here we go. She has now said that weighing every other day is more beneficial than weighing once a week. So I'm really pleased that she's taken on board my explanation, my feedback and her change in approach, because I want my clients to feel empowered and take control of the scales, and not that their mood and emotions are dictated by the number on the scale, because they will fluctuate. And when you learn that scale weight fluctuates for 100 different reasons, which I'm not going to go into, not today, I've done that on another podcast where I talk about scale weight specifically, you start to learn, oh, it fluctuates, but I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do. I'm sticking to all my targets and goals. It will come down, and it invariably does, because it's science. And if it doesn't come down, then we need to look at why. And I support my clients in finding out why and how to make those changes. But weighing, I like my clients to weigh every day. To start with, we're weighing 4 to 5 times a week. That's enough. And we'll see how my ladies get on, and I will keep you posted on that. Another of my ladies, in terms of scale weight, is she had responded that, oh, I never weigh myself, only when I've got a doctor's appointment. And that she has always had a fear, but is open to weighing herself. Now, I've actually responded to her that because her goal is health and improved nutrition, it's not weight loss, it's not fat loss, I don't actually see the benefit in her jumping on the scales, especially if she already has a fear and a poor relationship with the scales. This is not the time to be jumping on the scales, and it isn't going to serve her. And I want everything I do in coaching to add to my clients' lives, not take away. And I don't feel that for this particular client, scale weight is going to be beneficial based on her as an individual and her goal. So I have recommended that she continues to not weigh herself. She has taken photos, and I will still use her photos to get that visual representation of how she's looking, as well as measurements, body measurements, to get an idea of where she's at. But her goal is improving her nutrition and health. She doesn't need to be weighing herself. So scale weight isn't for everybody, and not all my clients do weigh themselves. Another client has said that what she's learned is that I am learning that it is about a week at a time, not the last snack that you had that wasn't the best choice. Now, I'm going to break this down, because I responded that I would prefer she take one day at a time. 1 week is far too big a time period. So much can happen in a week. So let's take one day at a time. But her actual point about not focusing on the last snack that she had that wasn't the best choice, it's about, you may have made a choice that didn't align with your goals, but through coaching, we're going to be looking at nutrition and the quality of the nutrition, building healthy, substantial meals. It will reduce snacking. But irrespective of that, if you make a choice, you're human, you make a choice that doesn't support your goal, the best thing you can do is just make the next choice that you come to a positive one that aligns with your goal. Just move on. Just move on. As part of coaching, not with all clients, obviously group coaching is group, so it depends whether we do this as part of the group coaching, is understanding why things are happening, looking into the whys, the behaviors around the snacking. And it's something that clients can then reflect on and understand behaviors. Sometimes I use journaling. Sometimes I may ask clients to answer journal prompts. And there's no set plan for that. I like to see how we go through coaching, focus on the priorities, especially with group coaching. It's a 6-week program, and I'm coaching as a group. Individual clients, we nail down on all these points, because it's more specific and individualized. And then another client has said that she realizes and has learned that it's not just about what you eat in a day, but it's what you eat over the week. And this is bang on, because, one overindulgent meal doesn't ruin your progress. It's how you react to that one indulgent meal. And I touched on this before, is that if you have one indulgent meal, perceive you've ruined everything, and then quit, give up, and then go berserk, then you really will ruin your progress. If you have one indulgent meal and then just get back to your normal routine, the likelihood is you won't ruin anything. and you are an average of what you do over time. So bearing in mind that I like to look at the week as an average, if you had one higher calorie day, it's not going to ruin things, because you may have a little bit lower calories the following day or another day, or you just go back to normal to, hovering around your calorie range. You'll be absolutely fine and you will continue to make progress. And it's how you respond as opposed to how you react. That's all my questions today. I'm going to leave this podcast here and I will keep up with any Q&As. Please do tune in and listen to the check-ins. The check-ins start next week. And then I'll be responding to the check-ins, and you may be able to resonate and relate to a lot of what's happening in the group coaching, and it can help you in your own goals and any of the challenges that you are experiencing. Please do like and share my podcast and leave me a review. It's much appreciated. And like I said at the beginning, don't forget to share me with your friends. Have a great day, and I'll catch up with you soon.